while the countdown's on, all right?
Hey, welcome back to Business Insider Secrets. I'm joined by Andy, my co-host, Mike. We got a special guest in. He is the founder of Full Networking, the largest joined-up networking events, holding 5,000 events a year prior to COVID. He's the author of for the highest-rated and 5-star reviewed books on Amazon. He's a mentor to sole traders, small businesses, large corporates. Someone who's actually mentored me personally, and I tell you what, he's the UK's #1 motivational business speaker, none other than Mr. Brad Burton. Brad, how you doing?
Josh, how you doing? Andy, good. Guys, we've survived. We've got through this COVID stuff, I reckon. We're nearly there.
We have got through. No, we are nearly there. And I'll tell you what, Brad, every time I'm looking at introducing you, there's just so much stuff to talk about. Where do you even bloody start? You know, do you go books first? Do you go networking events? Where do you start?
Well, listen, you've got to start somewhere, and that applies to every area of your life and in your business. You know, I started my business at 31 years old. I'm 48 now. And actually, you know,
48?
You said that. No, but it's true. You know, you said that I'm Brad Burton, the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. Or am I Brad Burton, the guy who left school with no qualifications, dad left when I was 6 months old, was the class clown, what else? Oh yeah, done 4 years on benefits, been addicted to drugs twice, got shot at when I was 21 and delivered pizzas at 30. Which one am I? And this is the thing, there's two sides of the same coin. So you can either have this amazing intro and that sound amazing, or you can have what I really was. And that's what I think where, you know, you've got to start somewhere. So any kind of change, I've changed my life completely. It's got to start somewhere. Most people don't want to start.
I think that's really interesting. Yeah. It's people's stories. People don't believe in themselves quite often, and they think that it's not for them, or they can't do it, or they don't know how to do it. And it's hearing everyone's individual story about how they get to somewhere that's absolutely crucial. So I think we should actually start back with some of that stuff, if that's okay,
sure.
Brad, and actually start. Let's start with sort of leaving school as like a piece. You've already just said, I left school with no qualifications. Like, I totally get that. I totally understand that and where you're coming from. And probably a lot of people, you know, I know probably can fall into some of that. But just give us what that actually means to you and what that actually is.
Which bit? The one about leaving school with no qualifications?
Exactly that.
Yeah. So let's go back to the story, starting then.
So I left school with no qualifications. I remember my letter arrived with my results, and I've opened my letter. Oh, shit. Just like E's and F's and U's, you know what I mean? I can't remember. You know, my CV says I've got A's and B's all made up completely. But I'm never using a CV again because I'm a self-employed business owner. I have been for 17 years. But here's the point. So I left school, no qualifications, went on a YTS, best thing I ever did. Youth training scheme, 35 quid a week, working, getting an apprenticeship or whatever in customer support or computer support. And then I got a job. Blagged a job in a computer game shop. Then I ended up working at Butlins in Minehead in Somerset near me. I was on the cleaning team and I worked bars. And then I came back to Manchester and I ended up getting shot at. And I'm not going into it because it's not a don't worry, my camera's going to start again. It's not a fun story. Let me be honest with you. But if you've read or you're into my books, that book, chapter 2, it explains what happened. So I got shot at in Manchester, and I was 21, 22 years old. And here's the thing: if I had not been shot at in Manchester and moved away the next day, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I wouldn't have headlined at the HBS. We wouldn't have these books. I wouldn't have started Full Networking, 5,000 business networking meetings across the UK. I wouldn't have met my wife. So everything happens for a reason, even the shitty stuff. And I tell you something, what happened with that gunshots is that was the worst day of my life. Looking now, best thing that ever happened to me. And this is what I say to people, no matter, you know, whenever we're going through any kind of transition in our life, what we end up doing, we go through a grieving process. So when I moved away from Manchester to Somerset, I remember walking down Western Supermare High Street and I was sad. I was sad. I didn't have any friends in Somerset, didn't know anyone. And I literally used to walk. I was on benefit. I'd walk around the town centre, sit on the bench, people watching, having a Greg's past there, walking on the beach, smoking weed, whatever. Just I had nothing going for me. And I realised something, that for so many years, I'd go to the doctors and I'd get fluoxetine or antidepressants. And this is an interesting point that I'm going to make to this. We'd all go through a grieving process. And what happens with grief, first thing is denial. Then what you end up doing is getting angry. Then you get depressed. Then you get acceptance. I went through that process and I stayed in that depression state because I wanted to go back to a place that no longer existed, Manchester. But Manchester, before all this, Manchester with my friend, 21, 22, happy-go-lucky, Manchester, me being the man, whatever. And so many people try to go back to a place that no longer exists, and that's what causes a lot of people unhappiness. COVID's a good example of it. So many business owners, businesses have been impacted, and what they're doing is they're grieving still. They're angry, or they're in denial, or they're depressed. And the sooner you can get to acceptance throughout anything that's going on in your life or has gone in your life, because we've all got something from way back. And I'll tell you something, pebbles in shoes don't magic the way out. So whatever you've got going on, deal with it today while you're strongest.
Brad, just rewinding a little bit then. So leaving man, was that the jury? Was it just hanging around with people? What was it?
Say that again, buddy. It dropped out, Josh. Say again.
Dropped out, Josh. You there?
Sorry. So leaving Manchester, what was it? Was it bad? Was it just in the wrong crowd? Was it just bad people? What was it?
No. Let me, as I said, it's in the second book. And if I was to share with you the story, you'd go, "Oh, I wish you wouldn't have shared that with me." So that's why I'm not sharing it. It's not a fun story. So the reality is, I'd love to say, "Oh yeah, cat backwards and gangster, yo." None of that. Right? It was just an on-top situation, which actually a 21-year-old boy being thrust into a really dangerous world wasn't a fun environment to be in. But what I would say is everything happens for a reason, even the shitty stuff. And sometimes it only makes sense when it's in your rearview mirror. And actually, it took me 25 years. 25 years to realise the importance of what had happened. Best thing that ever happened to me.
So when you're walking down that, sorry, Josh, when you're walking down that, Weston-super-Mare along the beach, and you pictured it, you're probably doing some things that probably you shouldn't be doing. You sat there, you're on the benefits. You were on that for what, 4 years, did you say? Broadly in that, not in the same environment, I guess, but broadly?
Kind of, yeah.
So you went round in those circles. You're talking about that depression circle you were just talking about, right? So what was the trigger that got you out of that? Because people are going to be in a state of that in some sort, right?
Yeah.
So
great.
COVID is a great example of that. What is that bit that made you go?
So there's two things here. One, there's a girl that I was with at the time, back in 95. She ended up applying for a job in a computer game shop for me. And I'll tell you what it was. It was 1997. I'll tell you the reason I know it was 1997, because Tony Blair got into power, and it was 9 days after he got into power that I got the job. But here's what happened. I don't like writing. My handwriting is terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's illegible. Right, my handwriting is absolutely illegible. So I don't like handwriting. So I applied for a job as a manager of a shop, computer game shop on the high street of Weston-super-Mare High Street, and my writing was terrible. I put it in the bin because I didn't want to fill it out. And yet the girl I was with at the time, she completed it for me without me even knowing. She sent it, Martina. Now, if she'd not done that, I wouldn't have got the job, and I wouldn't have started finding my belief back again. Something so innocuous like that. That lady writing it, taking it out the bin, writing it and sending it on my behalf, changed my life. So you've got to start somewhere, and to get to C in your life, wherever you want to get, wherever C is, you've got to go via A and B. And A and B is the bit where people laugh at you. HBS. These kids, you've got no chance. This lad, he's wet behind the ears. What does he know what he's doing? But what you had is you had misguided self-belief, an unwavering, misguided self-belief. Because actually, anyone older wouldn't have made the play that you guys did. And you did it because you had that naivety. And actually, that naivety served me as well, because I blagged my way into a job as a manager of a shop. I absolutely excelled as a manager in the shop. They made me the regional leader, whatever. And then from that, I then got a job as a head of marketing for EasyNet, UK Online, back in the old ISP days. So I hit it at this complete gold streak. And what they did, they give me budgets of £30,000 a month to spend marketing. me 30 grand, and it's like, you can imagine what a month that I've got to spend on marketing. Yeah, wow. Okay, so but once again, I did beautifully in that role, like beautifully. And bottom line is that I was doing beautifully there. Then they brought some former head of price, W Cooper, whatever, and I just didn't hit it off. And I went, you know what, I'm out of it. I got a job over in. I was getting offered jobs day in, day out, back in the .com boom, 2000, and took a job. Lasted 6 months in Oxford, and then came back where I sat on the dole again. 6 months.
Interesting. Wow. That bit where you was talking about, the sort of about the belief came back. Was that because you were believing in yourself and the confidence was growing, or was that because you had a great mentor, a manager that was supporting you, or was it a bit of both? What did that look like?
It was me, and then here's the thing. So I ended up 6 months on benefits, and I said, if I don't get a job now, I'm going bankrupt. I was £25,000 in debt. So doing the math here, it's a 2003, top of my head, right? So 2003, 2004, I was unemployed. I put a date down, 6 months where I was, and said, if I don't sort myself out in 6 months, get a job, I'm going to go bankrupt. And 3 days before I was due to go bankrupt, I got a job. And this is what I kind of learned then. I didn't learn then. I look back and go, well, that was what was going on. By putting a deadline, which is what I do on everything, it means that you don't miss stuff. It means that you value your time. Because if you have a meeting for an hour, people will fill the hour in. You have a meeting for 10 minutes, you'll have a 10-minute meeting. And actually, one of the things that I realized was time was not, I was only getting older. And I went and worked, I got a job over in a security company in London. And they asked me, the board asked me to create a marketing plan for this £8 million company. So I did that. It took me 2 or 3 days, presented it to the board. They went, daft idea, that'll never work. We tried that in 1983. We don't think that'll work. I went, you know what? Shove your job up your ass. I walked. And that was December the 18th, 2004. So, wonderfully liberated.
Was that the start of 4N after that?
A year after that, yeah. I started my own business off, which was a company called 4 Consultants, a marketing company again. So once again...
is that how it started? It was a marketing company?
So a company called 4 Consultants. It's fabulous. If you go look on the Wayback Machine, 4consultancy.net. It's fascinating to see. You can see the DNA of everything that I do, the 4 networking logo, the colours, the Brad words, the confidence. And actually, I went along to these networking events, and in political terms, you had the loony left where nothing quite happens. It's all very nice and Chablis and Volvo. And you're listening to the mayor talking about frigging parking provision at the marina, and they're putting the price up 17%, and everyone's in uproar. And you're listening, Mayor, do you believe the local economy, no one gives a shit, right? And everyone's asking daft questions when no one cares. And I'm like, loony left of networking, that's just bullshit. And then I went along to the other networks. You've got to attend, you've got to bring visitors. I'm like, what's going on here? That doesn't appeal to me. That doesn't appeal to me. Where was the mainstream of networking? And it never existed until I created it for networking, which just changed everything.
So talk me.
Go on, Josh. Go on.
So 4 Consultancy starts off. Where was your first event? And talk me through how you pulled that together. The day one, networking event number 1, 4N's first ever event. Talk me through it and the build up.
So December the 16th or 18th, 2004, walked out of a job days before Christmas, no money, wife was furious, go and get a proper job, bollocks to her. It culminated in me delivering pizzas. I had to deliver pizzas to keep the house afloat, and also if I didn't, the pressure was on. So by delivering pizzas at £6 an hour, and I remember gamifying my pizza delivery. I'd gone from being a director, by the way. I'd gone from being a director of a company in Oxford, so I'm delivering pizzas, and I felt like a piece of shit. But what I should have been doing is patting myself on the back. So I remember gamifying that, and actually what I'd do is £6 an hour, but I would focus on how much tips I could get. And the way you get tips, if you turn up like a face like a slapped ass, hello, buddy, how you doing? I'll tell you what, it smells delicious. Boom. And I was getting tips. I made £6, I think £5.80 or whatever was my height. But anyway, so I got my business working, that 4 Consultancy. 28 grand first year. Second year, halfway through, I was on 46 grand from a standing start. I've had no business experience. I was doing really well. But I made the decision to throw it in the bin. One of the things that I say, and I spoke with last HBS there, was, if you've got a plan B, you don't believe in your plan A. And it's true when people go, if your business doesn't work out, what I'll do is I'll go back to my old employer because he said there's always a job. What are you on about? So if you don't 100% believe in your business, Josh, don't get upset when me, a client you're pitching to, I go, man, I don't believe in it. So you want me, you don't 100% believe in it, but but you want me to 100% believe in something that you don't 100% believe in. And the problem is we leak the truth. So I threw it in the bin. So the first ever phone networking was February the 16th, 2006. So it was 15 years ago. Everyone laughed at me. And I remember from that meeting, there was I got 72 people to a launch. 72. Right. And it's like,
that's epic.
Oh, mate. But once again, something that I did, I was an absolute marketing brigand because I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right? I had no reputation. I had nothing to lose, so I didn't care. So what I would do, the rival networking events, they'll be having their meetings at 6 o'clock in the morning and their visitors' days, and I'd go down there on my Vauxhall, Enbridge Vauxhall Omega with rust on one wing, and I'd park up outside and I would go and carpet bomb every single windscreen at the golf club with an envelope that said "Good morning?" ? Open it. Did you realise this networking event needs you to attend? You've got to do this, this, and this. All the stuff they wouldn't have told, and it just created uproar. And on a national level, everyone's talking about me. It just boom, and it just kind of worked.
Wow. And so when did you decide to actually expand that? Because how do you go from running one networking event locally to thinking, actually, do you know what? I'm going to take this around the whole UK.
So it's a bit like, how does ivy go around the entire house? Starts at the bottom and it ivy leaves up. And that's what ended up happening. But what I did is I integrated, and I'm a master at this. Before Facebook, right? Before Facebook is the thing that you all know, there was no such thing as Facebook in the olden days. So I actually created Facebook, albeit a forum, and that's what we did. So on the For Networking website, you'd come along to put a free listing on there that would then demonstrate or promote your business. And then we've got your data. And now all of a sudden we say, hey, Steve, did you know? Well, I see you're based in Bristol. We've got a networking event. We'd really love you to come. Boom, that was it. And actually, one of the things that I was good at and I didn't realise goes back down to what I said about you, Josh, what people would perceive as naivety. Fucking brilliant. Because you do shit that no one else who's a square or a straight batter would do. You make these plays that no one else would do. And that's what I did. 50% social, 50% business. Networking, business networking, 50% social. This is outrageous. And actually, what it is if I don't like you, Josh, and you don't like me, it ain't happening. So I recognise something. I recognise something that people need to. First and foremost, you need to get on with someone. If you get on with somebody, it's like you've got to dance around the handbag a little bit before you say, "Do you want to come back to my place for coffee?" And I think that's what we managed to facilitate with For Networking. So I had one group, then two groups, then three groups, and we was all individual groups at the time. And then somebody said to me, "Oh, I want to go to all three meetings." Oh, can't do that. And as soon as those words finished, look like I drugged up on that picture. It's just locked up. as soon as those words landed out my mouth, I thought to myself, you know what, Bosh? And that's when our For Networking passport was born. So that means that you go to Southampton For Networking, you're a member there. You can go to Hampshire, you can go to Cornwall, you can go to Manchester, you can go to Scotland, London, wherever. No one had ever done that before, and that allowed that freedom of movement, like having a gym membership at Nuffield or to any of them. Same principle. I remember driving from my house, Somerset, all the way through to Leeds, and every single junction on the way we had a For Network, and I was like, wow. I remember mind blown.
Was it not? Go on.
With that whole piece, then, so you're growing it over the years, right? So you started in 2004. You've built it. Sorry. Let's that first year. Over that first year, what did the first one you've got? You said 72 people at. By the end of that first year, how many people had you got to those sort of total events?
I've no idea, but we had 11 groups at the end of the first year, 24 in the end of the second year, 60 at the end of the third, 124, 200 plus year 5. And actually, I kind of know from a growth perspective now, knowing what I know now, because I'm doing this thing again. Let me be quite clear. I've been wiped out. Yeah, I'm doing this thing again. I reckon I can skip year 1, 2, and 3 and go straight onto year 4.
Really?
That's where I'm at. Yeah. So you're going to see something in September.
Yeah, that was going to be exactly my question, right? So you've gone from 11 to 20 to 60 to 120. So you've doubled, and then you've sort of tripled, and then you've sort of tripled again. So at what point? What was the sort of the leverage or the switch that you went from, actually I can triple here rather than double? What was that?
I totally agree. How do you go from just adding events to fuck, I'm going to put another 20, another 30, another 40.
Yes.
You know?
So we was launching like 13 in a week at some times. It was crazy. And actually, one of the things that happens is, okay, how do you start a forest fire in California with one match? Right? You light a tree, it then lights a second one, then you got 4, then you got 8, then you got 16. Your surface area is greater. And that's all it is. And that's all it is. Momentum creates momentum. And one of the things that I've always been good at is that day one enthusiasm. You know, when you go on a first date and you're like, oh my God, hello, how are you? And you go on an interview, best behavior, like people, Josh, once again, you, by the way, I keep my eye on you. You're doing beautifully. It's lovely to see.
Oh, thanks, man. Honestly, appreciate it.
I'm serious. I'm so proud of what you've done there. Once again, please understand this. Once that naivety is gone, you're never going to get it back. Just keep doing what you're doing. Anyway, so the point is that when you go light a fire, you know, like a bushfire, 2, 4, 8, 16, and the more surface area you've got, the more people that ding it. And people want to support success when things are all going well. Everyone wants to cheer you, and that's what we was good at doing. I based 4 Networking on New Labour, 1997, back in the day. And actually, we came into power, and what we ended up doing, I've always looked at 4 Networking like a political party, and what we ended up doing is we made the established networks look old-fashioned and fuddy-duddy. And the only defense they had against someone like me who came into this space with lots of radical ideas was to go more square. And the great thing about going more square is you can go and compete on that front. And if they tried to get a little bit, into my world, they ended up looking like squares, trying to be cool. There was all a little bit Richard Madeley, and there's all a little bit Alan Partridge. And in doing that, you know, I've come from Salford, Manchester, no qualifications, not a pot to piss in. I don't understand business. I don't know hedge funds, vertical markets, what the difference is between gross and net. I've got no idea. I don't need to. I'm surrounded by people that do. And so many people, I'm dragging them. So you don't know what your gross profit is, percentile. I've got no idea. All I know is money comes in, we pay our bills, and we get a little bit over.
Yeah. And so, Brad, where did how did you go from obviously there? You got Salford, growing up, moving down, starting the events. Where do you even become the UK's number 1 motivational business speaker? Well, how did that come about, and kind of how did you get there?
Great question. So, who made you a managing director of a marketing company, Josh?
Me.
Right. Who made me a motivational speaker? Me. You know, I didn't go to, me and Andy didn't go to, you know, back in the good old days, a careers officer, and he said, I'll tell you what you need to do, Andy. You need to get into that online marketing. You know what I mean? When you're 16. Yeah. And so here's the thing. Well, how are you qualified to motivate? Oh, shut the fuck up, right? The reality is, if you can do the job, you're qualified. And this is where people get it all twisted. I have people coming for jobs with me and they turn up with degrees and go, oh, I've got a 2-1 or 2-2. By the way, I've got no idea what the difference is between a 2-1 and 2-2. If you said to me your life depended on it, I would say a 2-2 is probably better. Have I got that wrong?
Yeah, 2-1's better.
Right. So I've got no idea. Like, genuinely, I've got no idea. So if somebody comes to an interview with me, 2-1, 2-2, I don't even know. What I'm looking for isn't how many qualifications they've got. Their ability to think fast, their ability to respond to me, their ability to get eye contact. All these factors that we've been told through the education system are really important. They're not, or less important now as we start moving into this. So somebody says to me, how do you become the UK's number 1 motivational business speaker? Imagine that us, Andy and Josh and us, we're all in the pub together or we're in a nightclub, and all of a sudden we're having a pint and go, hey, Andy, look at that over there. What's that? 20 quid note there. Go and pick it up. No. Josh, you go and pick it up. You're near her. Go on, Andy. You're near. Just pick it up. He's only there. And whilst we're arguing the toss about picking it up, somebody comes over, sees the 20, picks it up. Then what happens? Walks off. Then what happens is the pair of us all start arguing. See, I told you to pick it up. See, when I went into this space, I remember asking people, I'd go to 4 Networking and I'd be doing my speaking, which is a foresight and insight, not a sales pitch. If anyone's interested, by the way, in coming to 4 Networking, please email hello@bradburton.biz and we'll give you a free invite completely to come along, completely free, no obligation, just to have a look at it. But I remember this whole thing was, remind me what I was saying then. Quick, remind me.
UK's number 1 motivational business speaker.
Thank you, cheers. So I was speaking at these. Thank you. I was speaking at these 4 Networking events, and you're speaking at like a Brewers Fair over in Southampton or Winchester, and just as you're speaking for 15, 20 minutes, you've got the guy with a barista. No, it's their environment. It's not my environment. I can't say, can you stop? They've got a job to do. We've used their space. So it's a really good testing ground to be a speaker because you've got all the people walking past for the hotels and so forth. And I was speaking and sharing my story in a really rough-ass way. And the bit about the pizza story, I used to spend like 9 minutes on that story. It's like just a complete non-story for me now. But it was a big news back in the day. So radical. I used to walk around with a Domino's pizza box under my arm in trade shows. You imagine going to your HBS and you've got a guy in a suit jacket with a pair of jeans with a Domino's box face down. Everyone's going, who's the guy with the Domino's box? Right? So there was a way of getting eyeballs on free marketing. People said, oh, I think that's that Brad Burton guy. And anyway, so I was speaking, and I wouldn't do that now. But at the time, it was the absolute right thing to do. But I was speaking at a lot of these events, and I'd be speaking down in Southampton at 4 Networking, and then somebody say, hey, we've got a new show. The speaker who we had fell over tomorrow. Can you come along and do it? Yeah, all right. So I'd go and do it, and then I'd do that, and then people would say, oh, we'll give you 50 quid, then 250, and it just got ridiculous. So what ended up happening was I started calling myself a motivational speaker. And then I said, this is a great example of my kind of guerrilla marketing. I said to the wife, I said, I'm going to start calling myself the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. Motivational business speaker. It's a fucking term that never existed until I created it. Motivational business speaker. It didn't exist. It sounded like it's always been there forevermore, but it didn't exist. Go and Google it. Motivational business speaker. It never existed. It sounded like it should have been there, and everyone's getting pissed off. Well, you're not the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. Well, who is? Well, it's not you. Give me a name. So I'd ask 100 people. 100 people would give me a different name. So I thought, you know what? It's like having the slippers there. They fit. Boom. Sorted. So that's what I did. I just made a website and said the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. And that's what you've got to do. The first person you've got to convince of your brilliance is you. People are so convinced, so working on Instagram to convince other people. Stop it. Convince yourself. And that is that unwavering self-belief, that misguided, that energy, that almost psychotic positivity, which I bring. And I didn't even realize that I had that. I had a friend of mine who said, you do realize what a complete nut job you come across as, don't you? He went, you don't? I said, mate, I've got no idea what you're talking about. He said, are you serious? He was pissed. He said, are you serious? What are you on about? I said, it's a bit like asking a fish, what's the water like? And the fish goes, what fucking water? I genuinely had no idea. I had no idea that I come across as so enthusiastic until somebody told me. Look at these drug pictures. Terrible, aren't they?
It's Brad back in the day.
While we're on the 4 networking piece, before we
move on. I
you
keep resetting some power anyway.
So that 4 networking piece, with the 4 networking, what I want to know is when people are going to a networking event, with your experience, because there's lots of people that are going to listen to this, going to go to a networking event, and obviously they should go to a 4 networking one. I mean, I've been to a whole load of them, and just picking up on your point, that, you know, they're just
left
square, like they still are. Like they still, like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I mean, life ain't like that. But when people go, in your experience, what's the #1 tip you would give someone going to get the most out of it? Because I think this is something we give someone straight away, you know?
Well, something that's interesting about this, and this is what COVID's really created, in that not only do we have 4 networking now, we've got 1 networking. So we run 1 networking, that's their sheet relating to them. That's 1 networking. I've got 3 networking as well, and we're working on 2 networking. So what we've ended up doing is almost created like Thunderbirds. We've created do you like blue cheese, by the way? Do you like blue cheese?
Love blue cheese, mate.
Yep. Blue cheese, Andy. Did you like it?
Yes.
Love it.
Can't stand it. But it's cheese, right? But so if you said to me, do you want some cheese? I'd say yes. I get a big block of blue cheese, and I'm like, I don't like this. You said you like cheese. So what we've ended up doing is we've created like a cheese board of networking. So if you don't like 4 networking for whatever that reason, there's 1 networking, which is a single category lockout, but modern day. If you used to go and get a 1980 Lamborghini and a 2020 Lamborghini and put them on the road, guess what? The 1980 would get dusted, boom. And that's what I've done. I've created a kind of single sector, single seat networking, which is more appropriate for today. So in terms of answering the question, I think that where people go wrong is their priority is not your priority. So they go there, you know, if I ask a question, if I ask a question in a networking event with 30 people, can you put your hand up if you come here to sell something? 30 hands go up. Keep your hand up if you come here to buy something. Right. And what ends up happening is people try to bore people into sales. And what you've got to do, you've got to create conditions where people buy instead of selling. You know, unless you're a superstar salesperson, don't try to sell. Have a conversation. That's what people need to do. If you're not a salesperson, you're not that way geared up, and you start talking sales, people's toes start crunching up and they get clunker. And once you recognize that any kind of sale is just a conversation, that's what I encourage people to have. Don't sell, have more conversations. Networking tip.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
That is networking. It is exactly that. It's about having a conversation. Everything comes from a conversation. And once you start having those conversations, that's where stuff starts to happen. That's where the gold is. The gold is in the conversation.
You know something? It's an interesting one because I'm going to record this now from my end because the gentleman who I'm going to give you this quote is a friend of mine. I'd love to steal this. This is his best quote ever, right? Genuinely, the greatest, the best networking quote I could possibly give you. And I'm going to steal it for myself. Every big opportunity starts with a little conversation.
Totally.
Think about it. Every big opportunity starts with a little conversation. And that, boys and girls, is Steph Thomas, the author of Business Networking for Dummies, a good friend of mine. I've stole it, Steph. Stole it. No, it's true. Think about it. Every big opportunity starts with a little conversation. So if you think about any conversation that you and Andy and Josh, in the steam room, do you know what I mean? Josh, having all this stuff on furlough and needing a bit of cash, and Andy stepping in there saying, guess what? I think we can do something here. But you guys were in the steam room in the gym when you first met, wasn't you?
We were, mate. Me and Andy looked each other right in the eyes.
Right? And that's the point is. The point is this, is if you would have been there a different session 20 minutes away, you'd have been passing ships, right? But somewhere along the way you met and for whatever reason it worked, bosh. Yeah, if you'd not had that conversation, if you'd have been rushing, do you see what I'm saying? So that's what you've got to recognize. That's all networking is, that whole ability to be able to facilitate a conversation and make it easy to do so.
Yeah. And Brad, what I want to do next, what I really want to do is to anyone listening to this who's in that maybe that startup phase or thinking about making a big move and they got all this negative talk coming in from the externals. Don't do it. Play it safe. Because one of the biggest things that really stuck out for me is when we launched Hampshire Business Show in 2019. And obviously, that year I was thinking, shit, I kind of committed to this. I'm telling people about it. I didn't know what to do. And one thing that stuck out for me is a few of the conversations that we had because you kind of just kept me on that straight and narrow. So can you, I suppose, give not so much tips, but maybe it is tips or advice to people who might be having they want to do something, but all these external pressures are kind of just saying no, don't do it.
So there's a couple of things here. My wife did not want me to start a business off 100%. She told me I was going to ruin this family on a systems and business off. 17 years on, 13 years of going to Disney World. Okay, apart from the thing, 13 years of going to Disney World, having the most amazing life that I could possibly ever wish for. We used to live on a masonette above a chipper. Do you think now, looking back, that she thinks that was the wrong move? Of course not. Now, here's the thing. What you need to start doing is talking yourself into things rather than out of. Because what we end up doing, we want to, we want to go left, but we want to go right at the same time. And this is where people go wrong. You end up getting stuck. And what so many people do, I'm going to go start my own business off here in a ship, and you've got your sail up, but you've also got your anchor down, and you go round and round and round. And as you get older, you get weaker because the longer you run, the weaker you become. Think about it. When I first moved in this house in Somerset, I swear this is absolutely true. There was a spider in each of the corners of the room, and I said to the wife, do you want me to get them out? I said, it's all right. I don't mind small spiders, Brad. Where do you think the big ones come from? So what we end up doing, and that same applies to your decision, right? Except that you've either not got the bollocks to start your own business off.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But don't get yourself in this perpetual, I'm going to start, even though deep down, you've not got the bollocks to do it. Or you've not got the gumption. Or you can't get beyond it. And that's where people get wrong. Accept it as to who you are. My wife would never start a business off. So when it comes to making any decision, if I could give you a foolproof way of what I believe an expert is someone that has made all the mistakes in a particular niche field. So when it comes to public speaking, I've made them all. When it comes to book writing, made them all. Running a business, made them all. Marriage, made them all. And actually, what happens is when you make a decision, right, and you've got lots of decisions to make, when you make a decision, it's a wrong one, it moves you one step towards being an expert, because that's what I think an expert is. An expert is someone that's made all the mistakes. So if you get it wrong, it moves you one step towards being an expert. If you get it right, it moves you one step towards success. You can't fail. As long as you learn from every single mistake, that's what makes you an expert. So me, as a motivational speaker, how many times do you reckon I've gone on stage and I've died loads of times. But it's that ability to go, some people go, oh, I'm never doing that again. Oh, God, never again. I go, okay, what did I learn now? What would I do differently next time? So in terms of anyone that's considering starting a business off, and I urge you, good effort, nerd, can I urge you to read that book, Get Off Your Ass, because I wrote that in 2008, which was 2 years after I started my phone networking business, and I capture the reality of what it's like to have a business, low sales, no sales, a whinging wife, depression, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. And I cover the reality of what it's like to go to the Coinstar machine and put all your 2s and 1s there and get a 70 quid voucher, less 8%. And that's all your money you've got. Parking your Vauxhall Enbridge Omega, half a mile away from the client visit, and you're having to get out of the passenger seat. Just there, Josh is nodding because he gets it. And that's what people need to understand, that when you first start off, you're more a market trader than a managing director.
That's it. But on that, Brad, because it is next bit, taking all that into account, one thing that stuck out for me, I went to one of the Now What events back in 2019, was what are you actually chasing? And you spoke about, is it money or is it happiness? Because, and what was that? The chasing money so much, thinking is it the 5-bedroom mansion? What is it?
Yeah. So being skint isn't any fun. I'll tell you that for nothing. I've been there. Being skint is not any fun. What I think we end up doing is we end up believing, we go onto Instagram, and you see some kid and you go, oh, look at that. There's a guy there straddling a yacht or a jet and he's got fucking 4 Bentleys and 4 whatever. And you're like, oh my God, that's success. Let me tell you something about success. I know a lot of business people who are successful that you would know as household names that are broken. The marriages are shit. The kids don't see them. They've got nothing apart from money. And you think to yourself, oh, yeah, all right. But trust me, because you've got yourself on what I call the business trap, which is what I got myself on. So focused on business success, I ended up with it. Success, I was ill. I ended up having a nervous breakdown back in 2013. I wrote about it there. A nervous breakdown that took me 2.5 years to get back to normal. I'm all right now, right? And actually, when people go, oh, yeah, well, that wouldn't be me because I'd be, you tell you something you don't even realize because you're so busy being busy. When it comes to this, I've got a 5-bedroom house over in Somerset. I've got every material thing that I could possibly wish for, including my 1981 space Lego. Let me show you. 1981. That was the summer as a Christmas of 1981. I got it off the internet, 110 quid. But I've got everything that I could possibly wish for. I've got a daft car. I've got an amazing family. And I say to you, how much is enough? Because if you've got your daft car, if you've got your Lego, you've got an arcade machine, you've got a wonderful house, and you're still not happy, you're fucked. Because what ends up happening is people go, oh, guess what? I'm going to go and get a house and I'm going to get a 40-inch television. You get a 40-inch television, then you want a 60-inch television, then you want a 100-inch television, now you want a 100-inch curve, now you want a 10-foot cinema screen, now you want a full-size cinema screen. And you spend your life chasing this shit for a game that you can never win. And I tell you something, one of the things that I realized, I'm like, check me out, I ain't no hippie, right? But I'm telling you, I realized something, that I had a multi-million-pound business and I was deeply unhappy. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being happy, 1 being miserable, I was a 1. I was a 1. This is the guy I'm going to show you right now. This is me quitting back in 2012 at Excel. I quit to my chairman. And my chairman gave me the greatest corner man conversation known to man. That's at my office, by the way, which we had to close down last year because of COVID. So I would say to you on this whole thing, just make certain that what you're chasing, what you want, is actually what you want and not what you think you want and what you see as success. You go on fucking daft videos and you're seeing people getting out of cars and getting in jets. And if that's not you, see, when we go to holidays over in Disney, and my wife there talked to you about going for the last 13 years, we don't stay at the top hotel. The top hotel, maitre d's and stuff on the door. And actually, I just go there like looking like, T-shirt on and a pair of fingers. But what ends up happening is people end up having to change who they are to fit into this next level. I'm quite happy being here. I'm quite happy being the king of my own world. And I think that's where people get all twisted. I had some fucking idiot on Clubhouse say to me, I've got self-limiting beliefs. I've got self-limiting beliefs. Well, yeah, because you could earn more money and go and break America. Whilst there's a single person over in Havisham that doesn't know about Brad Burton, the UK's #1 motivational business speaker, why am I going on a flight to America? Yeah, but you can get a sky bed and what you can do. I've got a perfectly good bed here. So maybe somewhere along the way, either my ambition has run out or my ability, or maybe, just maybe, the reason that we do anything in our lives, business, relationships, life is to have fun and be happy. Now, if I've reached a point in my life where it's fun and I'm happy, what is beyond that? But you can get a bigger business. Yeah, get that. Why? Well, because then you can, what, go on more holidays? Well,
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think what comes into that is the ego. It's the ego of always chasing something, always wanting to be bigger, always wanting to be better. And you end up in this cycle, don't you, of wanting to do. I totally get where you're coming from. You just mentioned King there. So you were talking about King, and I'm just sort of scrolling through your website before we came on, and I noticed that there's Kingmaker in there. And you just talked about King there, and I want to try and see if I can put these two together, because there might be something you can't talk about yet. But if you can, I'd love to know what Kingmaker is. Like, what is that, and what's the relevance to the Kingmaker you just brought up?
Thank you. So interestingly, do you play computer games? You play computer games?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
COD Mobile.
Right.
Not really, but yes. There we go.
Okay, so I'm a computer gamer. I've been one for 30 years. If you and I, Josh, Andy, were playing Street Fighter, and we both come on, and we both got full energy, we'd fight cool. When you're then down to 20% energy, you're fighting differently. Why is that? So you're 100% energy, come on, bang, 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 20% energy, now you're defensive. And I realised something. I thought, wow, okay. Imagine if you had an energy thing for yourself, like this was a computer game and this is the heads-up display that you see. So all of a sudden, this is real time that is moving around. So you know where your energy is, you know where your motivation is, you know if you're happy, you know if you're positive, you know about your relationships. And I based Kingmaker on computer games for life, because this is the biggest computer game that you've ever played in your life. Think about it. Guy, working class, living above a masonette, chipper, no money, How on earth have I changed my life? I've changed my life because I've changed my thinking. Now, if I think about Kingmaker, look at the top there, level 1, level 10. What ends up happening is, if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you start off and you choose a character type, barbarian, knight, wizard. So the wizard starts off as a level 1 wizard. It's got a couple of goblins, 2 magic missiles, and then they've got to sleep to get their energy back. A level 10 wizard, flame shields, fireballs, summoning dragons, it's taking on 10 orcs. What's the difference between a level 1 wizard and level 10 wizard? It's the experience between the same people, but it's the experience, it's the treasure you pick up. But what ends up happening is this: most people, where do these people level up? They level up through experience, through fighting. That's what happens in these games. You get 10 XP for killing them, and then you level up. But what ends up happening in real life is, when you have a fight, a metaphorical one, people want to get away from the danger. People want to get away from the fight, so they don't get the experience. That's why people end up in bad places, because they don't get the experience from the fights, and they end up having another fight, and it's worse than that. You look at Floyd Mayweather, his ability to fight at fight 50 is greater than the one at fight 1, because of the battles and the experience. And that is what I've done with Kingmaker. 10-week program, brilliant. I work out, how did I get to where I am right now? And I worked out the steps and the moves that I did. And here's the thing: one size doesn't fit all. Your skills are different to mine. Your panic needle is different. Your threshold, and that's why it's the most perfect personal development event like ever. Like, genuinely, it's changed people's lives, and I'm so proud of it.
And how do you register for that? If you want to get in touch with you about that.
Once again, just email hello@bradburton.biz. We start Monday, 10-week program. We start Monday. And, if anyone is interested, like I say, just email hello@bradburton. Thank you. hello@bradburton.biz. Information about Kingmaker, and we'll tell you that. But like I say, we do genuinely start for 10 weeks, and that's it. Monday, 10 a.m.
Guys, that's awesome.
Okay, on that, I want to touch back just on one last bit, because it's going to be super helpful to me, Brad, if that's all right. When you went through that double, treble piece, what was the big, over those few years where you were doubling, trebling, you're up to 200-300 events? What was the number one thing you think you learned from scaling to that number, that over those 2 or 3 years, you learned a few things, you improved? Because we're going through exactly that, right? And, we've learned some things this year, but we need to learn for the next bit. What does that look like? What's the number one thing you reckon?
So the number one lesson is that I should have believed in my vision. because where I got it to, I was then told by someone who I trusted that said how you've got it here today isn't going to get us where we need to go tomorrow. And actually, I let someone else take over the reins, and it just started losing its way. That original vision, that almost bohemian energy, that you didn't know what was going to happen. It was a bit jackass almost, you know. It was just exciting. By removing that, we kind of removed what made us great and exciting. And in doing so, we lost a load of energy. And actually, what's great about this whole resurgence that we're in right now is that I've got an opportunity, the second chance in my life at 48, to have a startup business again and actually do it, learn the lessons of the past as a level 20 wizard now, and say, okay, we know what we did. I can go now and go straight away. And that is what's going to happen. That's from September the 1st. Watch what we do. You know, anyone that knows me knows I'm a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, it happens. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. I genuinely wouldn't say it. I'm a man of my word. And for networking, you're going to see a resurgence and speed of growth in this next 12 months from September the 1st, the likes of which is just going to make those first few years look positively small.
Brilliant. I love that.
There you have it, guys. There you have it. Guys, there it is. Business Insider Secrets. Brad Burton, the UK's #1 motivational business speaker. And you hear it there, you know, and we've only had 45 minutes of him. You know, if you YouTube him, if you follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram, the content that comes out of this guy day in, day out. I tell you what, you know, I run a marketing company, I run social media channels, and I've never known anyone who can hit social as hard as Brad. You know, like, Brad, how many times a day do you post on Instagram? Just out of curiosity.
You know what? Once again, it's your job, though, isn't it? It's not work. You know what work is? Work is sat behind a desk in an office where you don't want to be. You know, I need to speak to you about our stuff. I'd love you guys to work with me, because one of the things to talk about from a personality perspective, that just, you know, I'll only work with I call it the 8%. I call it the 8%. Let me just show you something. There you go. So this here, be part of the 8%. I will only work with people. I asked Pippa, my co-pilot, Pippa, my co-director, when she first started with me 4 or 5 years ago, I said to her, Pippa, I said, you know what? How many people do you believe don't do what they say they're going to do? She went, I've got no idea, 10%, 20%. I went, 92%. She went, oh, shut up. Now you ask Pippa, and she goes, wow. Only 8% of people do what they say they're going to do. So if you want to be in success in business, do what you say you're going to do. I think we need to speak, Josh, with you and your team. Okay,
that's brilliant. Guys, there you have it. Business Insider Secrets. Andy, what do you think of that, mate?
I thought it was awesome. There's some great things in there, wasn't there? I'm absolutely stoked to have Brad on there and to meet you. So thank you very much for your time. It's been super useful. I've got some great takeaways from that. I think some of that about believing in your vision, believing in the growth, knowing exactly what you want to do and where you want to take it, because your vision gets you to where you are now. So believe in that and take that to the next step. And it doesn't matter. I think for people going back, it doesn't matter where you start from, because everyone's got to start. And the biggest number thing is exactly what it says up there. You've got to get off your ass. So read the book, #1. Outside that, there's so many things that people need to do to believe in themselves, to be able to go, this is me and I can do it. People don't do that. People don't believe in themselves, and they think, oh, well, they've had a handout and this happened and that happened. It's all bullshit. It's all in your own heads, and you've got to take it. That's the most important thing. And I think that, Brad, you sort of epitomise that. You know, your story, it's in your book. People should go and read those. And from there, people can then really listen and understand that it's not about not doing something. It's about, you know, or not being able to do something, or I can't do this. You have a side hustle. There's so many ways.
And you know what I say to people? If I put a gun to your head, if I put a gun to your head and said, listen, fucking find a way, you'd find a way. You wouldn't go, oh, I don't know anything. And this is what I do. I say to people, whenever they've got a problem or challenging business and I'm consulting, I put a gun to the head, metaphorically speaking, and say, listen, you've got 5 seconds, come up with a solution, otherwise I'm going to see 6, 5, 4, 3. All right, what we'll do is, right, why the fuck aren't we doing that then? Let's go and do that. And by doing that, you just get rid of all the subconscious, Manchester motivation, by the way. But by getting rid of all subconscious, you get down to it. And so many people are scared of making a decision in case it's the wrong one. I'm happy to make a decision. Let me just leave you guys and girls with something really important, because it is really important. It's something that we covered out the HBS last time, which is this. This is something that Bentley Global use, their enterprise team. And the reason that Bentley Global use it is because I taught it them. Brad Burton, the former drug addict, the guy, sorry, not that Brad, the other one, the 4-time bestseller. Right. So when it comes to making decisions, Here's what I do. I'm the easiest person in the world to sell to because I'll make a decision in 24 seconds. If I can't make a decision in 24 seconds, I'll revisit it in 24 minutes. If after 24 minutes I can't make a decision, I'll revisit it in 24 hours. If after 24 hours I can't make a decision, I just made a decision next. And that is how I live my life. And where you end up in your life is a direct result of your decisions. And I'll tell you something, this is proven. There is no correlation between time spent on a decision and it being more correct. Make the decision.
Love it. Absolutely epic. So that is the end of Business Insider Secrets podcast today. This was recorded live and will be come out on iTunes and all those sort of places if you want to see catch up. But there's some great takeaways from Brad. Brad, if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Social medias, please find me on social medias at Brad Burton. Good looking lad. Got 2 blue ticks. Still looking for a 3rd Instagram one.
Perfect. Excellent.
Guys, we'll catch you next time.
Josh, thank you for being an excellent co-host. It's been epic having you on. This was it. All out. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Take care, guys. See you next time.